Are you tired of your container plants dying every time you forget to water for a few days? Or maybe you're in a drought-prone area and you're sick of watching your water bill skyrocket just to keep your garden alive. I'm about to show you 10 tough-as-nails perennial plants that laugh in the face of drought. These plants will thrive in containers with minimal watering. They'll survive heat waves. And plant number 3, it can go an entire month without water once established and still look absolutely gorgeous. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have a complete drought-proof container garden plan that will save you time, money, and a whole lot of frustration. Before we dive into these incredible drought-tolerant perennials, if you're serious about creating a sustainable, low-water garden that still looks amazing, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you never miss our water-wise gardening tips. And if you live in a dry climate, or you just want to reduce your water usage, do me a favor and drop a like on this video. It helps us reach more gardeners who need these solutions. All right, let's get right to it. Here are 10 perennials that will absolutely thrive in containers with little water, helping you drought-proof your garden. Let's talk about the reality of container gardening for a minute. Containers dry out fast, way faster than garden beds. The soil is exposed to sun and wind from all sides. Roots are confined, and water evaporates quickly. If you're growing traditional, water-loving plants in containers, you're basically signing up to water every single day during summer, sometimes twice a day in extreme heat. That's exhausting, expensive if you're paying for municipal water, and frankly, it's not sustainable, especially in areas facing water restrictions or drought conditions. But here's the game changer. There are perennial plants that have evolved in harsh, dry environments, and they've developed incredible adaptations to survive with minimal water. We're talking thick, waxy leaves that reduce water loss, deep taproots that seek out moisture, succulent tissues that store water, and silvery or gray foliage that reflects heat. These plants are designed by nature to handle drought. When you choose drought-tolerant perennials for your containers, you're not just reducing maintenance, you're creating a resilient garden that can handle forgotten waterings, heat waves, travel, and water restrictions without missing a beat. You're also being environmentally responsible by conserving water, which is increasingly important as climate patterns shift and droughts become more common. The plants I'm sharing today are specifically proven to thrive in containers with infrequent watering. Once established, most of these can go a week or more between waterings, even in hot weather. Some can handle even longer dry periods. This doesn't mean you completely abandon them, but it does mean freedom from daily watering slavery and peace of mind knowing your containers will survive if life gets busy. Let's jump in. Number 1. Agave, specifically compact varieties like Agave Perii or Agave Victoriae Reginae. Agaves are the ultimate drought-proof container plants. These are succulent plants from desert regions, and they're built to survive in conditions that would kill most other plants. Agave Perii, also called Perry's agave, forms stunning symmetrical rosettes of thick, blue-gray leaves with dark spines along the edges. Agave Victoriae Reginae, or Queen Victoria agave, is smaller and has dramatic white markings on dark green leaves that look almost painted on. Here's why agaves are perfect for drought-proof containers. They store massive amounts of water in their thick, fleshy leaves. This means they can go literally months without water once established. In fact, overwatering is far more likely to kill an agave than underwatering. They're also incredibly architectural and sculptural, adding a bold, dramatic focal point to container arrangements. The key benefit is absolute minimum maintenance with maximum visual impact. Agaves never need fertilizing. They have zero pest problems in most climates. They don't need pruning or deadheading because they don't flower regularly, and they're completely self-sufficient once established. They're also frost-tolerant to varying degrees depending on species. Agave Perii can handle temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is remarkable for a succulent. Critical caution. Agaves need perfect drainage. They will rot instantly if they sit in soggy soil. Use a cactus and succulent potting mix or add at least 50% perlite or pumice to regular potting soil. Make absolutely sure your container has drainage holes. Also, agave leaves have sharp spines on the tips and edges, so place them away from high-traffic areas where people or pets might brush against them. Wear thick gloves when handling. Agaves need full sun to maintain their compact shape and best color. In too much shade, they'll stretch and lose their symmetry. Water deeply but infrequently. Let the soil dry out completely between waterings. In winter, stop watering almost entirely. Number 2. Yucca, particularly Yucca filamentosa or color guard variety. Yucca is a native North American plant that's incredibly tough and drought-resistant. Yucca filamentosa, commonly called Adam's needle, has sword-like evergreen leaves that form dense clumps, and in early summer, it sends up a spectacular flower spike that can reach 5 to 6 feet tall with hundreds of creamy white, bell-shaped flowers. The color guard variety has striking yellow and green variegated foliage that adds year-round color. Here's what makes yucca exceptional for drought-proof containers. It has a deep taproot system that seeks out water, and once established, it can survive on rainfall alone in many climates. Yucca is also cold-hardy, surviving winters down to zone 4, which is rare for a plant that's this drought-tolerant. It's evergreen, so you get year-round structure and interest in your containers even during winter when everything else is dormant. The key benefit is dramatic architectural presence combined with nearly zero water needs. Yucca makes a bold statement in containers, and the summer flower spikes are absolutely spectacular, attracting hummingbirds and night-flying moths. The plant is also deer and rabbit resistant, and it has no significant pest or disease problems. Important caution. Like agaves, yuccas absolutely require excellent drainage. Soggy soil will cause root rot. Use a well-draining potting mix and ensure your container has drainage holes. Yucca leaves are stiff and pointed, so place containers where people won't accidentally run into them. The leaves also have thread-like fibers peeling off the edges, which is actually attractive but can be sharp. Yucca needs full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours of direct light. In shade, it grows leggy and weak. Water deeply during the first growing season to establish roots, but after that, you can water infrequently. Once established, water only during extended dry periods. In winter, don't water at all unless the plant shows signs of stress. Remove spent flower stalks after blooming to keep the plant tidy. Number 3. Sempervivum, commonly known as hens and chicks. Sempervivums are small, rosette-forming succulents that are ridiculously easy to grow and incredibly drought-tolerant. The name literally means always living in Latin, which tells you everything you need to know about their toughness. They come in an amazing array of colors: green, red, purple, burgundy, even varieties that look frosted or cobwebbed. Each mother rosette, the hen, produces dozens of baby offsets, the chicks, creating dense colonies. Here's why sempervivums are perfect for drought-proof container gardens. They're essentially living stone crop that evolved in harsh mountain environments. They can go a full month or more without water once established, and will still look plump and healthy. They're also cold-hardy down to zone 3, which means they can survive brutal winters outdoors in containers. The key benefit is you can pack dozens of different varieties into a single, shallow container, creating a living tapestry of colors and textures that requires almost zero maintenance. Sempervivums are perfect for strawberry pots, hypertufa troughs, or any shallow, wide container. They spread naturally to fill in gaps, and the color variations throughout the seasons are stunning. In summer, some varieties send up tall flower stalks with star-shaped blooms, which is a cool bonus. One caution: Sempervivums are monocarpic, meaning each rosette flowers once and then dies. But don't worry, by the time a rosette flowers, it's already produced dozens of offsets that continue growing, so you never actually lose the plant. The biggest threat to sempervivums is overwatering and poor drainage. They will rot if kept too wet. Use a cactus and succulent mix, or add extra grit to regular potting soil. They need full sun to maintain their tight, compact form and best coloring. In shade, they stretch out and lose their vibrant hues. Water sparingly, only when the soil is completely dry. In winter, they can survive on snow and rain alone and don't need supplemental watering. Sempervivums are also rabbit and deer-proof, and they have zero pest problems. Number 4. Sedum, specifically upright varieties like Autumn Joy or Dragon's Blood. We talked about Autumn Joy in the low-maintenance video, but it deserves a spot here too because sedums are among the most drought-tolerant perennials you can grow. Autumn Joy is the tall, upright type with thick, succulent leaves and massive pink flower heads that turn copper red in fall. Dragon's Blood is a low-growing ground cover type with red-tinged foliage and bright red flowers in summer. Here's what makes sedums unbeatable for drought-proof containers. They're succulents, so they store water in their leaves and stems. They can easily go 2 weeks or more without water during summer and even longer in cooler weather. They're also incredibly versatile because you can use tall, upright sedums as focal points or low-creeping sedums as fillers that cascade over container edges. The key benefit is multi-season interest with almost no water. Sedums look good from spring through winter. You get attractive foliage all season, spectacular flowers in late summer and fall that pollinators mob, and then the dried flower heads persist through winter, looking beautiful when covered in frost or snow. They're also incredibly easy to propagate. Any piece that breaks off can be stuck in soil and will root, giving you unlimited free plants. Caution: the #1 killer of sedums is overwatering. They will rot in soggy soil, so excellent drainage is absolutely critical. Use a well-draining potting mix, add extra perlite or pumice, and make sure containers have drainage holes. Sedums need full sun for best performance. In too much shade, they get leggy and flop over. If your sedum starts to sprawl in mid-summer, you can cut it back by half in early June, and it'll regrow bushier and more compact. Water sedums sparingly. Let the soil dry out completely between waterings. During winter dormancy, don't water at all. Sedums are deer and rabbit resistant and have virtually no pest or disease problems. They're also salt-tolerant, which makes them perfect for coastal gardens or areas where road salt spray is an issue. Number 5. Lavender, especially varieties like Hidcote, Munstead, or Provence. Lavender is one of the most popular perennials in the world, and it's incredibly drought-tolerant once established. Hidcote has deep purple flowers, Munstead is a lighter purple-blue, and Provence is a French lavender with silvery foliage and pale purple blooms. All of these varieties are compact enough for containers, usually staying around 18 to 24 inches tall. Here's why lavender is perfect for drought-proof container gardening. It's a Mediterranean plant that evolved in hot, dry, rocky hillsides with poor soil and minimal rainfall. Lavender actually performs better when stressed by drought. Too much water makes it grow weak and floppy. When you keep it on the dry side, it develops concentrated essential oils, which means stronger fragrance, better flavor if you're using it for cooking, and more compact, sturdy growth. The key benefit is you get beauty, fragrance, and functionality with minimal water. Lavender blooms for weeks in summer, filling the air with that incredible scent. You can cut the flowers for fresh or dried arrangements, use them in sachets, make lavender tea or baked goods, or infuse them into honey or sugar. Pollinators, especially bees, absolutely love lavender. It's also deer and rabbit resistant, which is a huge bonus. Critical caution: lavender's biggest enemy is overwatering and humidity. If the roots stay wet, lavender develops root rot and dies quickly. Use a very fast-draining potting mix. Consider adding extra sand or perlite. and make absolutely sure your container has excellent drainage. Lavender also needs full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight. Without enough light, it won't flower well and gets leggy. Water lavender deeply but infrequently once established. Let the top few inches of soil dry out completely between waterings. In humid climates, space the plants for good air circulation to prevent fungal issues. Prune lightly after flowering to maintain shape and remove spent flower stalks, but never cut into the woody stems at the base because they won't regrow. In cold climates below Zone 5, English lavender may not survive winters outdoors, so you may need to bring containers into a protected area or treat it as an annual. Number 6. Yarrow. Particularly compact varieties like Little Moonshine or Paprika. Yarrow is a wildly underrated perennial that's incredibly tough and drought-tolerant. Little Moonshine has soft yellow flowers and silvery gray ferny foliage. Paprika has brilliant red flowers that age to salmon and peach tones. Both varieties stay compact at about 12 to 18 inches tall, making them perfect for containers. Here's what makes Yarrow exceptional for drought-proof containers. It has deep, fibrous roots that seek out moisture deep in the soil, and once established, it can survive extended periods without supplemental watering. Yarrow is also incredibly adaptable, tolerating poor soil, heat, humidity, cold, and neglect. It's a true survivor plant. The key benefit is incredibly long blooming period with minimal care. Yarrow blooms from late spring through summer, sometimes into fall, giving you months of color. The flat-topped flower clusters are perfect for pollinators. Butterflies and beneficial insects love them, and they're excellent for cutting and bringing indoors. The flowers also dry beautifully, keeping their color for dried arrangements. The ferny foliage is attractive even when the plant isn't blooming, and it's aromatic when brushed. Important caution: Yarrow needs full sun and excellent drainage. It will not perform well in shade or wet soil. In too much shade, it gets floppy and doesn't flower well. Make sure your container drains freely. Also, yarrow can spread aggressively in garden beds, but in containers, this actually works to your advantage because it fills the pot quickly and creates a full, lush look. Deadhead spent flowers to encourage continuous blooming, or leave them to go to seed if you want to attract goldfinches and other seed-eating birds. Water yarrow regularly during the first season to establish roots, but once it's established, water only during extended dry spells. It's remarkably drought-tolerant. Divide yarrow every 2 to 3 years to keep it vigorous and prevent the center from dying out. It's also deer and rabbit resistant and rarely has pest or disease problems. Number 7. Russian sage, Perovskia atriplycifolia. Russian sage is a stunning, airy perennial that looks like a purple haze floating above silvery foliage. It produces tall spikes of tiny lavender-blue flowers from midsummer through fall, and the entire plant is aromatic. Russian sage can reach 3 to 4 feet tall in containers, creating dramatic height and presence. Here's why Russian sage is perfect for drought-proof container gardens. It's native to dry, rocky areas of Central Asia, and it's evolved to handle extreme drought and heat. Once established, Russian sage needs very little water, and it actually prefers lean, dry soil over rich, moist conditions. It's also incredibly cold-hardy, surviving winters down to Zone 4, and it's deer, rabbit, and pest-resistant. The key benefit is late-season color and movement when many other plants are finished. Russian sage blooms from July through September, filling containers with billowing clouds of purple-blue flowers at a time when gardens often look tired. The stems sway gracefully in the breeze, adding motion and sound to your space. Pollinators, especially bees and butterflies, swarm Russian sage when it's in bloom. Caution: Russian sage absolutely requires full sun and excellent drainage. In shade or damp conditions, it grows weak and leggy and doesn't flower well. Make sure your container has drainage holes and use a well-draining potting mix. Russian sage is technically a woody subshrub, so it develops woody stems at the base. In early spring, cut it back hard to about 6 to 12 inches from the ground. This encourages bushy new growth and prevents the plant from becoming too woody and sprawling. Don't be afraid to cut it back hard. It regrows vigorously. Water sparingly. Russian sage is extremely drought-tolerant once established and actually prefers to stay on the dry side. Overwatering can lead to root rot or fungal issues. The aromatic foliage smells like sage when crushed, which is pleasant, but some people find it strong, so be aware of that if you're placing containers near seating areas. Number 8. Echinacea, commonly called purple coneflower, especially compact varieties like Pow Wow Wildberry or Cheyenne Spirit. Echinacea is a native North American prairie plant, and it's incredibly tough and drought-resistant. Pow Wow Wildberry has vibrant rose-purple flowers with orange cones, and Cheyenne Spirit is a mix that includes red, orange, yellow, pink, and cream flowers. These compact varieties stay around 18 to 24 inches tall, perfect for containers. Here's what makes Echinacea ideal for drought-proof containers. It evolved on the American prairies where summers are hot, dry, and brutal, and winters are freezing. Echinacea has deep taproots that reach down to find water, allowing it to survive extended periods without rain. Once established, it needs very little supplemental watering. The key benefit is long-lasting flowers that attract wildlife with minimal care. Echinacea blooms for months, from early summer through fall, and each flower lasts for weeks. The large, daisy-like blooms with prominent cone centers are stunning, and pollinators absolutely love them. Butterflies, bees, and hummingbirds are constantly visiting. In fall and winter, the dried seed heads attract goldfinches, chickadees, and other songbirds that eat the seeds. So if you leave the stalk standing instead of cutting them back, you get free bird entertainment. Important caution: Echinacea needs full sun, at least 6 hours of direct light. In too much shade, it grows weak, flops over, and produces fewer flowers. It also needs good drainage. While Echinacea can tolerate short periods of drought, it doesn't like sitting in waterlogged soil. Use a well-draining potting mix and containers with drainage holes. Deadheading spent flowers will encourage more blooms, but if you want to attract birds, leave some flowers to mature and form seed heads. Water Echinacea regularly during the first season to establish deep roots, but once established, it's quite drought-tolerant and can handle dry spells. Echinacea is deer-resistant and rarely has pest problems, though occasionally you might see powdery mildew in humid climates with poor air circulation. Choosing disease-resistant varieties helps prevent this. Number 9. Artemisia, especially Silver Mound or Powys Castle varieties. Artemisia is grown primarily for its stunning silvery gray foliage, and it's one of the most drought-tolerant perennials you can find. Silver Mound forms a perfect, dense mound of feathery silver foliage about 12 inches tall. Powys Castle is larger, reaching 2 to 3 feet, with deeply cut silver leaves that look almost lacy. Here's why Artemisia is perfect for drought-proof container gardens. The silvery color comes from tiny hairs covering the leaves, and these hairs reflect sunlight and reduce water loss through transpiration. This is a brilliant evolutionary adaptation for surviving drought. Artemisia can go weeks without water once established and still look fresh and beautiful. It's also aromatic, with a pleasant herbal scent. The key benefit is year-round silver foliage that creates stunning contrast in container combinations. Artemisia doesn't need to flower to be valuable. The foliage is the star. Silver plants are designer favorites because they make neighboring colors pop. Plant Artemisia with purple, blue, pink, or burgundy flowers, and the colors become more vibrant. The silvery foliage also glows in evening light, making it perfect for patios and decks where you spend time at dusk. Critical caution: Artemisia needs excellent drainage and full sun. It will rot quickly in soggy soil or humid, shady conditions. Use a very well-draining potting mix. Consider adding extra sand or perlite, and make sure containers have good drainage. Artemisia can get floppy and open in the center if it gets too much water or fertilizer, so keep it lean and dry. In midsummer, if your Artemisia starts to sprawl, you can shear it back by half, and it'll regrow into a tighter mound. Water sparingly, only when the soil is dry. Artemisia is extremely drought-tolerant and prefers dry conditions. Overwatering is the main cause of problems. The plant is deer and rabbit resistant, and it has no significant pest or disease issues. In cold climates, some artemisias are semi-evergreen, meaning they keep some foliage through winter, providing year-round interest. Number 10. Gaillardia, commonly known as blanket flower, especially compact varieties like Goblin or Arizona Sun. Gaillardia is a native North American wildflower that's incredibly colorful and incredibly tough. Goblin has red and yellow bicolor flowers that look like little suns. Arizona Sun is similar with larger blooms. Both varieties stay compact at about 12 inches tall and bloom continuously from early summer through fall. Here's what makes Gaillardia exceptional for drought-proof containers. It's a prairie plant that evolved in hot, dry, windy conditions with minimal water. Gaillardia has adapted to handle extreme drought, intense heat, and poor soil. Once established, it needs very little supplemental water and actually performs better when kept on the dry side. The key benefit is non-stop color for months with minimal care. Gaillardia blooms continuously from June through October in many climates, giving you nearly 5 months of vibrant flowers. The daisy-like blooms are incredibly cheerful with their bright red, yellow, and orange color combinations. They're also deadheading optional. The plant will keep blooming even if you don't remove spent flowers, though deadheading does encourage even more blooms. Pollinators, especially butterflies and bees, love Gaillardia. Important caution: Gaillardia needs full sun and excellent drainage. It's one of those plants that absolutely will not tolerate wet feet. In soggy soil, it develops crown rot and dies quickly. Use a very well-draining potting mix and make sure your container has drainage holes. Gaillardia is also short-lived as perennials go, usually lasting 2 to 3 years, but it self-seeds readily, so you'll often get new plants popping up. You can also divide it in spring to rejuvenate clumps. Water Gaillardia during establishment, but once the roots are developed, water sparingly. It's extremely drought-tolerant and prefers dry conditions. Overwatering causes more problems than underwatering. The plant is deer and rabbit resistant and rarely has pest problems. In very humid climates, it can sometimes develop powdery mildew, but good air circulation and avoiding overhead watering helps prevent this. And there you have it, 10 tough, drought-tolerant perennials that will thrive in your containers with minimal watering. These plants are your answer to creating a beautiful, resilient container garden that can handle heat, drought, and occasional neglect without skipping a beat. You now have the knowledge to drought-proof your containers, reduce your water usage, lower your maintenance time, and still enjoy stunning plants year after year. Thanks so much for watching this complete guide. If this video helped you understand how to create a drought-proof container garden, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more water-wise gardening tips and low-maintenance plant recommendations. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these 10 drought-tolerant perennials you're most excited to try, or if you're already growing any of them, share your experience and tips with the community. And if you want to learn how to design beautiful drought-tolerant container combinations using these plants, check out the video I'm linking right now. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, beautiful gardens don't have to be water-guzzling gardens. Happy planting!